Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago to the day, actually February 12th, 2022, I uploaded a podcast where I talked about the strange sound that I heard when I had my alien encounter in 1977. And I tried to recreate that sound. I tried to duplicate it. I used the sound mixer that's part of my video editing program, and I tried to duplicate that sound, or try to come up with a facsimile of what I remembered. And this is what it sound. This is what I came up with. I was just going to play it quick, and then we'll proceed. So that's what it sounded like, and something like that. I would never be able to reproduce it exactly, obviously, right? But it was something like that, like this electronic humming sound. It was very overpowering. So I wake up in the middle of the night, 1977. I'm almost 9 years old. The light was left on in the room. So the whole room was bright, but I had this thin blue blanket, and I had it covering my head as well. And I wake up and I could hear this sound. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then I realized not only is there this weird sound, but there's something standing right by the bed. And I could see the silhouette of something's there, right? And I could see its arm and its hand pretty clearly. The hand had only 3 digits on it. The digits were thick at the base, and they came to almost points at the tips. And the hand just kept on moving over where my face was, and then away, and then back up again where my face was, back up again. Just the whole time. This lasted for 20 minutes. That whole time, that hand was just going like this, right above my face. And so I'm scared out of my mind, thinking that something from hell is in my bedroom and is going to take me there. And I don't know what's going on. I have no explanation for it. I'm unbelievably frightened. And because I know there's something weird going on, something most certainly extraordinary, right, is happening, right? And the sound and the thing that's there's no doubt, right? Something is going on here that doesn't make any sense, and this is not normal, right? So I don't want to look at whatever this thing is. I'm thinking I'm going to be looking into the face of the devil. That's what I'm thinking, right? So I pulled the blanket up a little bit, and I could, because my brother Dave, he's sleeping on the other side of the room. Like there was this steps separated each side of the attic, and he's on the other side. So I peeked out of the blanket in his direction, and he's facing toward me. He's sound asleep. He's passed out. And I started yelling toward him, Davy, Davy. And he's not budging. He's not moving whatsoever, nothing. And meanwhile, that humming sound, that electronic buzzing sound, that sound of bees or whatever it was somewhat muffling my voice. So then I'm extremely terrified, start yelling for my mom and dad, for a little while too. And they're not coming. Nobody's coming, even though they're right below us, right below our room, right? And, nobody comes to the rescue, and the whole time that sound never lets up. That whatever that thing is still standing there, and is still moving its, putting its hand close to my face and then pulling it back again. And I'm just laying there saying my prayers, and the next thing I know, I pass out, and I wake up the next day. Nobody believes me. Over 10 years goes by. And then I realized it wasn't something out of hell. It was something, probably an alien creature, an extraterrestrial. That's after seeing shows on TV about alien abduction and that kind of stuff. That's when I realized that's what it was, right? That had to be something like that, right? There was something physical in that room that night, and there was some sort of a sound that came along with it. And over the years, even in recent years, I keep coming across different stories where other people heard this sound as well, including most famously probably the 1994 aerial school incident in Zimbabwe, where over 60 kids saw, during a recess at 10:30 in the morning, while all the teachers are inside the school, the kids are outside playing during a recess, flying saucer lands, alien creatures exit. One of the creatures communicates telepathically with some of the kids, and then meanwhile, the kids also report report later on, some of them, that in addition to the telepathic communication, there was a sound. It sounded like this sound of bees or electronic humming sound, a buzzing sound, right? So they were hearing it there. So last week, I finally got around to reading one of Dr. Karla Turner's books. Now, Dr. Karla Turner, she's someone who she started writing about this in the early 1990s. She was on TV shows. You could do a search on YouTube. You'll find some lectures that she attended where she talks about her experiences. And I've seen those things. I've watched some of those things, but I never got around to reading any of her books. And some of my subscribers over the past few years, every now and then they'll say, "Hey, you should talk about Dr. Karla Turner. You don't talk about her that much." So I finally got around to getting one of her books just recently, Into the Fringe. I bought this recently, and I read it last week. And it was really wild. Basically, Turner, along with her husband, her son, and other people within their orbit, they realized that they were getting abducted by aliens. They were waking up with marks on their body, scratches, puncture wounds, triangle marks, all kinds of stuff, right? And this book is wild. I got to say, there's a lot to it. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole book. But they were getting abducted on a regular basis. Then they went under hypnosis. When they all went under hypnosis, they started remembering some of the missing time. They were having missing time incidents. And then when they went under hypnosis, they would recall what was happening to them, why they were getting these marks on their body. They were getting abducted on a regular basis, it seems, during the 1980s, the late 1980s into the 90s. It was really wild stuff, I got to say. But she was a very serious researcher. She thought it was important to talk about this, and she wrote this book, and I read it, and I really loved it. But one of the things really caught my attention was toward the end, during one of her hypnotic regressions, she was talking about these four shadowy beings, these creatures that she encountered during one of her abductions, and this is what she was stating while she was under hypnosis. And this is from page 278. She writes, "They're behind," and this is she writes what she was stating during this hypnotic regression. She states, "They're behind me, and I know they're there. I can almost see them now. Their hands are up here behind me, and they're making a noise, or something's making a noise like bees, like a hum that comes and goes in many sounds. That sort of bothers me. I asked them what that sound was. They said they were just talking to me, to this other pocket of my mind, and that it was okay. They were just instructing me. I wonder what they would be instructing me, and it isn't important that I know it right now, so it doesn't matter. I'm standing in front of the stove, and the humming gets louder, and now when I look up, the men are gone, and I turn around, and the room is empty. It's sort of sad, and I just sit down." Now, when I read that, I thought, wow, what basically she's saying here, well, according to her, what the aliens told her when she's under, when they abducted her, they're basically telling her that sound is they're putting something into her brain. They're putting instructions into her brain, basically downloading some kind of information into her mind. Is that what's been going on with this sound? Is that what that sound is? I've speculated before in the past about possibly what this sound might be all about. I suggested that maybe it was the sound of the craft. Maybe when I was a kid, the craft was, I'm in the attic. Maybe it's right above, the roof there, hovering or something, and that was what was making the sound. Or because when you talk about the aerial school incident, maybe it was the same kind of deal there. Maybe the kids were hearing the sound. The craft was just making that sound. But when you read this now, it makes you rethink this. Like, maybe what was going on here with this sound is that they are putting information into people's minds during this, and maybe they put some sort of information into my mind that I have no idea what it is, but there's something there, and you can't decipher. I don't know. Now, I've read other books by other UFO researchers and like people like David M. Jacobs, and he talks about how some people, he worked with over 1,000 people who've been abducted, and these people under hypnosis, they reveal that these aliens are planning to use some of the abductees in the future when this change takes place. There's a big planned change going to happen at some point. Basically, what all this alien abduction stuff is about is that they're creating hybrids. They're using our DNA to create beings that are half human, half alien, and they're sprinkling them out throughout the globe here. Right now, they're all over the place, according to Jacobs. They're among us right now. In fact, the title of his most recent book from about 10 years ago was Walking Among Us. They're here, according to Jacobs. So after time, that's what the program was. That's the reason for the program, is to create these hybrids. And but abductees are still going to be part of this change in the future, according to Jacobs. So I'm wondering now, is that what's going on here? Are they putting in some sort of instructions into people's minds, so when the time comes, whether they make it or not, like I don't know, if the change ever does come, like Jacobs talks about, I might be dead by that time, just like Karla Turner. She's passed away. She's been dead for almost 30 years now. And so, but they put that in people's information in their minds, and it's stored there because at some point in the future, this change is going to happen. They don't know exactly when, probably the aliens don't. But when it does, they're going to need not just the hybrids here, but also the people that they have abducted. They're going to use them for things like crowd control. Now, Jacobs talks about that in his book here, Walking Among Us, and I just want to talk about some passages from there. He talks about some people were trained to pilot UFOs. Some abductees are trained to pilot UFOs. Basically, this is a chapter. The chapter is called "Training Abductees for the Change," and it also talks about using abductees for crowd control. Here's what he writes on page 207. He says, "Early on, I discovered that some abductees are being trained for controlling crowds of frightened humans. For example, during one onboard training session, Brian," he uses all pseudonyms for the people that he's discussing in his books. Anyway, he says, "Brian was told that it was up to him to keep control of people as they moved in crowds down a certain path. Working in tandem with a hybrid in a specially designed scenario, Brian had to use mental abilities to keep the humans from reaching a river and leaving the city. Paula was shown a large wall screen displaying a street map. A hybrid pointed to where she should stand to control people. The hybrid told her that she was to make sure that panicked people moved toward a waiting UFO as they rushed down a street." And then he also talks about neural control over humans. So basically, they're putting in they're somehow during the abductions, who knows? They're putting implants in people, right? For all I know, I got a freaking implant in me. I have no idea, but it's possible. I mean, I had an encounter with one of these creatures, and plus I saw one of the craft up close and personal during a fishing trip in 1994, right? At some point, right, maybe this sound that I heard was information that they downloaded into my mind, and this probably goes for a lot of other people too. Who knows how many, right? Some people probably don't even know they've had encounters with aliens, right? But who knows, right? We just have no clue. That's how advanced these beings are. But at some point in the future, we're going to be under the control of these beings, trying to control the chaos that's going to ensue when they begin to take over the planet. And in his book, The Threat, that's where there was some things in there I want to talk about too. It doesn't sound good. Let's see here. On page 251, he talks about the alien agenda. He goes through all the different things: the abduction program, the breeding program, the hybridization program, and then finally the integration program, where the aliens prepare the abductees for future events. Eventually, the hybrids or the aliens themselves integrate into human society and assume control. And he goes on to say that the aliens have suggested that the time is not far off when their programs will end and they will have achieved their goal. Many abductees feel that something is going to happen soon and that the aliens have their goal within sight. Claudia Negron was told that time is short. One of them is talking to me. What is he saying? He's saying that I am helping them and that I should feel proud of that. They're happy with me and that I'm helping them a lot. They say they need to do this. They have to do this, and that I should be happy I'm part of this. They can't tell exactly what it is right now, but they will later. At another time they will tell me. They'll tell you what it is. They'll tell me what it is, and they'll show me. They'll take me there and show me, but right now they can't. It's almost complete, but not yet. There is more they have to do. And then the question, so he says that it's almost complete, but not quite, and they still have some things to do? Well, I understand that he's talking about the future and that he's talking about them, their race. They have to be so secret about it. It has to be that way. Otherwise, it would never work. Pam Martin was led to believe that the alien agenda had 3 stages: gradual, accelerated, and sudden. The aliens indicated to her that they are now in the accelerated stage, and she felt that all this is going to go down sooner than what people think. An alien told Jason Howard that it would happen around 1999. The aliens are generally vague about dates, but most imply that the change will come, as they told Claudia Negron in 1997 when she directly asked, "Soon, very soon." The indications are that this could mean from within the next 5 years to within the next 2 generations. He goes on to write that it is disturbing that the aliens and hybrids seem primarily concerned with the Earth, not with human beings. They do not comment on their preservation of life or the value of humanity or human institutions. They say they want to make a better world, but they never talk about partnership with humans, peaceful coexistence, equality. Rejma Kamal was told that after the change there will be only one form of government. The insect-like aliens will be in complete control. There will be no necessity to continue national governments. There will be one system and one goal. Now, there's a lot more to this book, and I highly recommend books by David M. Jacobs, for as frightening as they are. And I also recommend books by Paula Turner. Now, I haven't read anything else from from Karla Turner. I haven't read any other books from Karla Turner, but yeah, the first one was something else. But I'm here left wondering now. What was that sound? Was it? Did they try to? Am I programmed that I don't know it, or is everyone programmed who encounters these creatures who hear this sound? They put something in your brain that's stored there for some future purpose. Are we going to be? Am I going to be an unwitting accomplice for the change at some point, along with a whole bunch of other hapless folks who get abducted over the years? Who knows? I don't know, but it's something to be concerned about, and it's something to talk about. I know there's a lot of people out there who really believe that these creatures are here to help us, they're good and all that kind of stuff, but you got to think to yourself, why are they so secret? Why don't they just come out and just announce their presence here and say, hey, we're here, just so you know, nice to meet you, or something to that effect? They don't do that. Instead, they're doing this kind of stuff, showing up in kids' bedrooms in the middle of the night in 1977 and scaring the hell out of them, and then making them look like liars or people or kids with giant imaginations to their parents. Right? That's what they're doing. Right? I don't think that's right. I don't think it, a lot of according to a lot of the stuff you read in these books by people like Jacobs, like Karla Turner, it's not good. Whatever's going on here, it doesn't sound good when when you have to be that secretive, right? And you're programming people, like you're creating possible extraterrestrial Manchurian candidates here. I mean, what the hell is going on here? Well, I don't know. I don't know if some people say to me, well, maybe you should get hypnotized and try to remember more information, or more things about what happened to you back when you were a kid. Maybe there's more to it. I'm sure that there's more. I'm absolutely positive there's more to it. I'm not sure if I would want to remember. But here's the thing, right? When it comes to that sound, that crazy sound that I heard, and that other people obviously have heard as well, right? How are you going to recreate it, right? How are you going to duplicate it? You would not be able to. I mean, I heard it, and if I went under hypnosis, I'm sure I would hear it again, just as I heard it when I was a kid, probably, right? But how am I going to convey that? What am I going to get out of that? I'm not going to understand it because it's too deeply embedded, apparently. I mean, there are some things, apparently, that these creatures, they do not want you to know exactly what their plan is. But it's starting to, if you go by what Jacobs writes, it doesn't sound good to me, folks. It really doesn't. And so it is concerning, I must say. It does sound, it's something that would be concerning. It should be concerning to everybody. I have no idea. For all I know, maybe Karla Turner was wrong about this. Maybe she has a false memory. Maybe they were just lying to her. Who knows? That maybe they really weren't putting any sort of information into her brain because using that sound. Maybe they weren't downloading stuff into a pocket of her mind to be extracted later on to be activated at some point in the future. Maybe that's all nonsense, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's what is going on with that sound that some people hear. I'd like to know, are there other people out there who have heard this sound? And what do you think? I mean, I'd like to hear more more people talk about this. See, this is why this is one of the biggest issues I have. It always comes back to this. It always comes back to the failure of the scientific community to take this subject seriously. It is a gigantic failure, I have to say, folks. It truly, absolutely is a gigantic failure, because basically they're leaving the human race hang out to dry here, basically, for not taking it seriously. There's something here. We've presented the evidence now, right? For some reason, it's suppressed. I just had received a private message from one of my subscribers, Bill Davis, and he let me know that he was talking with Michael Schratt, who does a really good job. He's probably the foremost expert on crash retrieval stories. I mean, you see him. Sometimes he's on Richard Dolan's show. Michael Schratt has his own YouTube channel where he goes over different cases of crash retrievals. And Bill had told me that he brought up the Vegas alien case to Michael Schratt, and Michael Schratt never heard of it. He never heard of it. Michael Schratt did not hear of this case. And it's just, that's because it's being suppressed. People are, the truth is out there now. The truth is in the universe, but there are some people, and really learned people within the UFO community that know nothing about it at this point still. It's unbelievable to me. I mean, that case proves once and for all that we're not alone. There's no question about it. But yet, it's being suppressed. It's being suppressed because some people want to keep it suppressed for whatever reason. Why? I don't know. What's going on? What is happening here? I just don't know what to say about it. I just think that the scientific community needs to be involved and start doing some more serious, more people, not just Avi Loeb, not just Gary Nolan. We need more scientists involved in this. And there are. I mean, there are. I've talked about some of them. There's other people. I can't think of their names off the top of my head right now. There was some people writing some scientific papers on this, speculative papers. Some of them are starting to take it more seriously. It's better today than it was in the past, but is it too late? Is it too late? I mean, this has been going on for years. I mean, my encounter with that I remember from the first time was 1977. That's almost 50 years ago. So are we behind the eight ball? Is it too late? And, it also makes me wonder too. I mean, I talked about, all the things I've talked about here, the things that I remember consciously, right? The 1977 incident. And then of course the 1994 incident when I was during a fishing trip where I, came in close proximity with the obvious extraterrestrial / NHI craft. It made absolutely no sound. It's as big as a house. It's floating there right in front of me, 2.5 stories off the ground. I'm within 20 feet of it. Not just me who saw it either. My buddy was there, right? Unbelievable, right? But it really happened, right? I know that there's something here. There's some of us on this planet who know for a fact there's something here. Everybody should know it though at this point, because we have released enough proof at this point that shows it. There's proof out there now. We've shown it. But there's more and then I had an incident in Hawaii back in 2007 when I had a dog go disappearing mysteriously and then reappearing under very mysterious circumstances 2.5 hours later. I think that possibly could be related to this phenomenon. I can't say for sure. And then there was another incident that I rarely talk about. I think I brought it up one time on this show. It was an incident that happened when I was about 5 years old. Me and my brother Davey, at that time, we weren't in the attic at this point. We were in a different room in the house, and we had bunk beds, and I was on the bottom one, and he was on the top one. And I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm only about 5 years old. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I see there's this closet, closet door, right across from my bed, at the base of my feet. I could see it. And the door opened up, and a figure comes traipsing out of this closet and had like a white shirt on, but I couldn't really make out its face. It came over right beside the bed and to start leaning over, right? And right when I started leaning over, it was like I was enveloped in like a black cloud, and I felt like smothered. I felt like I was smothering, and I just passed out. And then I woke up the next day. I don't remember whether or not I talked to my mom about that incident the next day. I probably did. I can't remember right now. I don't know for sure because I was so long ago. I was so young. But if I did, she must have told me it was a dream, because for years I've always just, in my head, that must have been a dream. That must have been a dream. But now, after all this time and after all this research, I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure if that one was a dream or not. That might have been one of the earlier, even an earlier encounter with these creatures than the one in 1977. The one that I know for sure was really, that I know for sure I was not sleeping. I know I was not dreaming. But the one when I was about 5, I'm not sure about that one. I am not sure. That could have been some sort of weird, I don't know. I never had anything like that happen again. I could tell you that. As an growing up after that, I never had something like that other than the 1977 incident. But I was wide awake for that one. I don't know what year it would have been. It would have been 73, maybe somewhere around there. 73, when I was about 5 years old, when that with the thing coming out of the closet. And I always thought it must have been a dream growing up, because I mean, why would it come out of a closet? But then, after all of this research over the years, you hear about other people talking about creatures coming out of closets, coming through walls. I mean, stuff that sounds impossible, that would never be possible, right? And maybe that's why I was thinking it had to be a dream when I was a kid, because that's not possible. I mean, this closet, for one thing, it was too narrow. A person would not be able to stand in there. It's just too small. It was, there wasn't enough, it wasn't deep enough, right? But what I saw, that closet door open up and something came walking out of it. Was it a dream? It could have been. I that's one of those ones I'm not sure of. But as time goes on, the more I think about it, the more I wonder, maybe that wasn't the dream. Maybe that was real. I mean, it wasn't like I woke up screaming, crying, from a nightmare. No, I passed out. I felt, I became, like everything started going black. Like I was in a black cloud. That's what it felt like. And I couldn't move, and I felt like I was smothering. And then I, wake up the next day and everything's back to normal again. So I just don't know. None of us know what's going on with this phenomenon, but I think that the scientific community really needs to take this more seriously. Now I'm starting to be concerned about the sound that I heard when I was a kid. That has me thinking now, what was happening there. And it seems like it happens to other people too. And what might be going on here is they might be downloading information into people's minds somehow, into their subconscious, and it will be activated at some point in the future for some purpose we have yet to see and we can't understand at this point. Only the aliens know. And they want to be real secretive about it. Again, I know there's some people out there who think that these beings are here to help us. But based on some of the experiences that I had, right, especially the 1977 incident, that scared the hell out of me. I'm scared out of my mind. Why, creatures sneaking in your people's houses, sneaking in the kid's bedroom in the middle of the night. I mean, that's not right. That's not right. It can't be. How could that possibly be how could they be here? How could you say that's a good thing? That's sneaky. That's trying to be secretive. You're up to something. You're up to something and it might be no good. We just don't know. And if Jacobs is right, they're planning on taking over. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the insects are going to be the ones in control. There's going to be a one world government, according to that was his conclusion. That's the conclusion that he came to, and that's what people were telling him. People that he would put under hypnosis, people who were getting abducted by these things, were telling him that they're planning on this change, and at least one of them was telling him that the insects are going to be in control. So I don't know. I think it's something that we need to think about, and I'd like to know, is there other people out there who encountered creatures? That's what I'm reaching out to. I guess that's the bottom line. I want to know more. That this is like one of those bucket list items. I like to know what the hell. I know that there was some creature in the room. There's no doubt about that. But what the hell was that sound all about? Is there anyone else out there that ever encountered alien creatures or a craft or both or whatever and heard that sound? I know some of the aerial kids talked about that. Is there other people out there? Something's going on with that. There's something fishy about that sound. And if it's what Karla Turner was talking about, that they're putting information in your head, that's very upsetting to me. That's disturbing. Anyway, obviously there's no answer here. All it is just a presentation of information and speculation, and we have no answers. And this is the big problem. When your scientific community's been sitting on its duff for 80 years and acting like there's nothing to this for the most part, this is what you get. You're basically caught here with no information, nowhere to turn. No one has any answers, and this is where we're at right now. Hopefully things will change in the future, but I don't know. I just don't know. Today, by the time you see this show, there's supposed to be a press conference today. Anna Paulina Luna and I guess some of her colleagues are going to talk about some announcement with something with UFOs, a new office or something. I don't know. Who knows what they're going to talk about? It's not going to be disclosure. I'll tell you that right now. Maybe it's not the good. I mean, think about this. Is it a good thing? Maybe in a way, right? Maybe this whole subject does needs to be kept on the outskirts of our consciousness, of human consciousness. Only some of us, the people who are intelligent enough, the people who can deal with this topic more so than other people. Maybe that's where it needs to stay. Maybe some people just aren't ready for this. It's too much for their brains, obviously. Maybe it's not a good idea to be debating with debunkers. I mean, what's the point? It's like debating with a person who believes the earth is flat at this point. So we need to start taking this more seriously. We really do. We need to start getting to the bottom of what these creatures are up to. We need to try to figure out what is happening here. That's where I'm at with it right now. But anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.